Okay, give me just a second here. Yeah, I'm early. And hello. Yes, I know I'm a little early today. It's mostly because I'm just kind of bored. But yes, today should be finishing off the Trenchbucket, or if you prefer, the Trebuchet. I mean, come on, it's a Trenchbucket. Yeah. Um, but yeah, just to show you what I've been kind of doing recently, I did take care of one aspect of the trebuchet earlier. Um, yeah, and you can probably guess what it is. Document. Yeah, I finished the captured elf trebuchet ammunition. Yeah. So yep, he's done. He's ready to go. Wee! Ah! And we have a visitor already, as you can tell by the tail that just flipped up into the camera. Now, since most of you are probably watching this after the fact on YouTube at this point in time, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the bell icon. You can be notified if I go to get online early like tonight. Now, I finally added my usual schedule to the comments, or the video description, and the Anycubic Photon does excellent work. This is Carlton. He usually does this at the start of every show, don't you? And yes, he's a bit. I gotta put you down on the floor now, okay, Fuzzball? Yes. This is what happens when you spoil your cats too much. On. Shoot. Anyway, what I'm going to be doing tonight. Number one. And that's number one. I'm going to be finishing the Orc Spotter. Number two. I'm going to be making generic ammunition, actual rocks for the catapult, for the trebuchet, cabuchet, trebupult, whatever. Number three, I'm going to be making the revised version of the shaft so that you can put it, assemble it. Because print in place won't exactly work well with that, especially not with the way the trebuchet's the height and size and all that. So, I'm going to show you how to cheat. And we're going to start this in a program I don't normally use on this show. It's Rhino 3D. I recently started the newer model evaluation, and I'll be getting the license in about a week or so. But anyway, I've already loaded the actual excuse me low poly version of the frame, the one that I used to judge the pose for the spotter orc. And we're going to go ahead, and we're here. As you can see, this is low poly. A lot of the details like either blurry like this, or almost non-existent like the hammer or that. But we don't care, because what we need is down here. What we need is the holes. We also go ahead and need to select all and join them together into one, so I can do that. And then we're going to lock it. There, now no matter what I do, I can't click on it. That's intentional. Now what we're going to do, we're going to make ourselves a cylinder that fits inside this hole but leaves behind about a half millimeter to a little bit less gap. And that's for tolerances and printing, and in case you don't print. Alright, another thing we're going to have to do, we're going to have to change the grid options. I want the snap spacing to be 0.25 millimeters, quarter millimeter. And then we're going to go ahead and do a cylinder again. And let's get as close to center as possible. Okay. That should do it. That gives us... yeah, we want about there. We're going to bring it out to here. And then from here, we're going to scale it double so that it goes across both ways. And that is just going to be in the entirety of the shaft. We can go ahead and unlock and hide the frame, because that's all we need. Oh wait, no, we can't. Because we need to make sure we're putting our cap with enough room to actually turn, which means 3 pixels. So okay, so, or not 3 pixels, 3 millimeters. Alright, now we're going back to cylinder. And we're going to make this a little bit bigger. And we're going to make it there. We're going to pull it out to about there. Now the next thing that we got to do is we got to make sure actually let's bring it in there. We need to make a slightly larger version to subtract from this. So we go to clone. We're going to make sure to, and then we're going to hide. There. Now the the cylinder we were using before is now hidden. We're now going to right click on this, which will give us a scale 2D. And we're going to make it a bit larger to give us room for tolerances in that. About a quarter millimeter should be enough. Then we're going to select this one, and we're going to Boolean subtract this. And what we have now is our cap, the hole taken out of it. We're going to unhide everything. We can see there's room for spin. We're going to hide the frame again, because we've made sure that we can do it. We're going to take this cap, and we're going to make a mirrored version. Unlike the geometry version from 3D Studio Max, this does not cause it to invert, because Rhino 3D does not create geometry until you render it or until you tell it to. Right now, all of these shapes, these compound surfaces, are actually, or in this case an extrusion, are actually, well, they're pure math. So we're going to select all 3 of these. We're going to click on this button, and it's going to convert it from the surfaces to a mesh. We're going to preview, and we got a pretty decent polygon count. We're going to hit delete. Now we're going to set weld angle tolerance 179, and we're going to select these two. Weld, got 179 already, so there we go. Now, next thing that's going to happen is we're going to export these individually. Okay. File. Export selected, and it's going into Orc Horde, War Machines, Trebuchet, Wavefront OBJ, Treb Shaft, delete Z, or not Z, but there. Select. Alright, we're going to go ahead and just rotate these 90 degrees so we can put them next to each other on the floor. Actually, we can go ahead and just delete one and do what we did before and just mirror it. Because that way we can also mirror what's on the sides that we end up adding to it. And then mirror. And we're going to select these. File. Export selected. Treb shaft cap. And that's that. We're going to delete them. We're coming in here to ZBrush. We're going to go ahead and import the super low frame just because it gives us a nice base to work from. And then we're going to yawn largely, and we're going to append polymesh, import Treb shaft. Okay. Reason for this is we need to go ahead and dynamesh it, because right now it's got nothing but really long polygons down this shaft, which doesn't really work that well. So we're going to dynamesh it at 256 Bing, and that'll not only there we go. It also kind of smooths out the end caps a little. Now we're going to hide the frame out, and we're going to use the rake tool to give it more of a bark texture, like it's an actual log. Now the way we're going to do this, using the tablet, let's also make sure that we've got lazy mouse turned off. Okay, we're going to kind of wiggle it, except to the very end, because the very end is going to have, okay, that's too small. The very end is going to have the cap. And I'm just going to kind of try and turn this into like a pine bark style texture. let's go ahead and not forget that. And once again, we're just kind of just zigzagging down the way. Alright, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to subtool, I'm going to append, append, we're going to import another tread shaft. We're also going to color, fill object, and then turn it back white. And what that does, that lets us see the fact that we have gone severely inside. I mean, we've really shrunk the interior except for these caps. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select about here, just enough to where it's going to cover the caps. And then I'm going to masking, and I'm going to blur the mask and grow it a little bit. Blur, grow, blur, and grow. Then under deformation, with the red visible again, and transparency off, I'm going to go to inflate, and inflate it slightly until I can see an irregular surface. That should be enough. Now, when I hide this one, yeah, there we go. We still got the nice... We're also now going back to deformation. We're going to give it a polish. Let's give them a 2 polish. Yeah, that's perfect. Go to subtool. And see how it looks. Yeah. That is our central shaft. So let's go ahead. We're going to go back to geometry and we're going to subdivide it. Delete lower. Go to decimation master. We're going to decimate this to 35K. Reading go Z. And there we go. It's 70,000 triangles. I'm going to go ahead and export. New folder. Final Treb. Trebuchet articulated shaft. And then we're going to go ahead and document new. No, we don't want to save changes. We are going to cylinder 3D import treb caps. And draw it in there, edit, and there we go. Frame, and we're going to Dynamesh these. Well, we're going to subdivide them a couple times first, and then Dynamesh them at 512. Gives us 309,000. But at once, just so we have room to start drawing. And I'm going to start drawing on one of these, so we can give it its nice little decoration. And what it's going to be, it's probably going to go ahead and be like an orky type skull. Oh, I'm thinking about, let's close that. Let's go to Orbcracks 2. Turn off Lazy Mouse, hit X, so we have our mirror image. Reduce the size. Leave the intensity where it is. And we're just going to kind of draw on. Oh. While I'm thinking about it, it would help if I went ahead and turned on backface masking. Cut that out. Okay. That's our center line. So I'm just going to go ahead and draw the nose first, just so we have a center marker. And then that works better. Okay. Now, okay. And now, just from here, skulls. Now we're going to use the inflate tool. We're going to, actually we need to make this a little bit bigger, a little bit more intense. I'm gonna smooth out the front of the upper jaw. And in here. Now we're going to go for slash. Once again, we're turning off lazy mouse. We're going to reduce this a lot. Make it a little bit bigger. And then just kind of draw on that. And okay. Now we're going to go ahead and emphasize the outer edge of the eyes, just to yeah. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to Dynamesh it again. Subdivide it. And then we're going to draw on a bone with the cracks brush. A cartoony, like piratey bone. That's one advantage to orcs. You can get away with kind of crappy cartoony style decos because they're crude. They're not going through their culture's renaissance. They're I'm gonna slap some paint on it and call it good. Okay, now we're going to go back to the slash tool. We're gonna make sure we've got we're also going to make sure that we have the tusks emphasized here. Okay. Now we frame out on. And there we go. That's our caps. It is 8:21. Most of the people should be here by now. And hello, Mark. Two people watching. Okay. Well, we're going to go ahead. Delete lower. And we're going to make them 20K. Just 40,000 triangles, or about 20,000 triangles per. Okay. Now we're going to export this final treb. Trebuchet articulated shaft caps. We're now going to load tool, the Trenchbucket. Bing, there we go. The reason we're doing this is we're going to actually go ahead and save and make these the final geometry that they're going to be, except for the bottom shaft. I'll explain in a second. So for that, we're going to trash it. We're going to hide everything except for that. And now, this is currently 1.2 million polys. It's a bit much. So I'm going to decimate it to 250,000. The reason for this is I'm going to be exporting it into Rhino. And I'm basically going to be making peg and hole for the bit on the bottom here. What you do is print the arm, print that little piece, print the bucket, hook the little piece around the shaft in the bucket, and glue it into the arm. And then you've got a nice swinging bucket. So we're going back to Rhino. And I'm going to import. Oh, I don't know if I exported this. Yeah, so we're going to export ZZ mid-high arm. Okay. Okay. Now, what we're going to do for this, we're going to zoom in here. I'm going to draw a rectangle and bring it up as close to the bottom as I can. Okay. Now, that is going to be the base from which the brain, the base, that's going to be used for subtracting and non-subtraction elements. Now, making a cylinder, make it over here. It happens with 4 millimeters. All the way up into. Okay, we can see right now that this is 1, 2, 3.5. Or 7. This is 4. This is good. And we need to kind of bring it over and center it. And then move it just a little bit there. And then we're going to mirror it. Okay, that's going to be the pegs for the actually it's going to be the peg holes for the ring on the bottom. The pegs are going to be slightly smaller. So we go to cylinder. And 1, 2. And bring them up the same height, or a little bit less than the same height. And we're going to do it this way. We're going to copy it. Looking at the bottom, a little bit easier. We're going to go to here. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to Boolean union the smaller ones in the box. Then we're going to make a much bigger box. Bring it up, and we're going to come up a little bit like that. And then we're going to subtract everything down here. Oh wait, no. We don't want a Boolean union with the smaller, we want a Boolean union with the bigger. Sorry, my brain just went meep. Actually, we need to duplicate this. So, then we're going to hide that one. Now we're going to make the bigger one. And now we're going to subtract that. Okay. And what we have is we have this to make the holes in the arm, and that to make the pegs for everything. So now we're going to go ahead and select them. We're going to make them into meshes. Delete those, and then we're going to select them one at a time. Weld. Okay. Now this one. Weld. Okay. Now this is file and save it as geo. ZZ tool top sub. Delete. Save as ZZ tool bottom sub. Okay, we delete it, and then we're going to delete this. Going back to ZBrush, we're going to go back a step so that we go from 500,000 back to 1.22 million. We're then going to duplicate it, go up to the top one, we're going to insert, next one we're going to insert, this one will be tool bottom sub, and this one will be tool top sub. Okay, we're going to hide these two for right now. Now, this arm, we need to make sure that it is set up for dynameshing. Then we go to the actual tool, Dynamesh at 768. Then, with that still lit, we go to click on that little right there. Group is Dynamesh sub. Now, I can merge down. Always okay. And then click that, and we'll end up with our little bottom thingy with pegs. Excuse me. Excuse me. And there we go. That is going to be the bottom for the trebuchet. Now we go back up. to the peg subtract. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to make sure that this arm has been... We're going to have to do it slightly different. Dynamesh. Okay, and leave it undone. Go up to Subtool. That one's already been given the little crescent. Geometry, Dynamesh of 768. And then polygroups. Group is Dynamesh sub. I can then merge down and control click, or control drag rather. And now we have the arm with the holes for this. And if we click on transparency, we can see that it does fit in there nicely. Alright, now the parts. The only remaining thing to do for the parts for this thing is we need to fuse the seat and the bucket. And for that we need to go to geometry. I'm going to give it one last subdivision. And a Dynamesh of 1024. Dynamesh. Okay. We now have 4 parts to the trebuchet itself. Well, 5 if you count 5 and 6 if you count the shaft. In fact, let's just for the sake of it, let's go ahead and append the shaft, just so we can show it off a little bit. Import final trebuchet articulated shaft. There. And you can see it's still got plenty of room to give it nice articulation. Now, we need to export these individual parts. And while I'm thinking about it, let's go back to Rhino real quick. We're going to import that super low arm, or mid-high arm. We're going to make sure it would fit on most print beds, because it's starting high and going even higher. Okay, now considering and keeping in mind that each one of these squares is a centimeter. 15 to here. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. It will fit on an Ender. Ender 3 or larger. The majority of people right now have an Ender 3 or larger for terrain type pieces. So it will fit. That's going to be just under a foot long. The whole thing's going to be like that assembled. Large enough to be impressive on the battlefield, but not so large that it's ridiculous. Now, we're going to delete the shaft because we've already dealt with it. Now, the actual frame. We've already gotten it fused together, so now we're just going to go ahead and make it. Let's see how 100,000 triangles works for it. Now, to let you know what we're going to be doing next. After we get these pieces subdivided and all that, and saved out as their articulated versions, we're going to go to work on making the 2 posed versions. Then we're going to get to work on finishing our orc. And a couple rocks, maybe, if we have time. Okay. Yeah, 50,000 triangles kept 99% of that detail. That's all we needed to worry about. It even kept a lot of the detail of... Oh, no, it didn't. It did not. It lost a lot of the detail that we wanted to keep. So let's go ahead and try it at 75. Because we want to try and keep some of these rings on the front. Now, how does it end up looking? Reordering. Okay. Still not looking good enough from my point of view. Control Z. One thing we need to do while I'm thinking about it is turn off Dynamesh and subdivide once. That'll give us a lot more polygons, I know, but oh well. We're going to kick it up to 100,000 polygons. That's going to be as high as we'll go. Yes, I know, I'm quiet right now. Alright, check on over here. And reordering is going to take a while because there's a lot to reorder. Writing file to disk. Okay, looking at the ends, good. That kept the detail type that I wanted. So it's frame out. We're going to hide the frame, go to the arm. This we're going to do it at 75K. There's not as many pieces to it. Okay, and there we go with 100,000 polygons. It'll finish, come on. Okay, here we go. Yeah, that looks good, and we still kept our end details. That's what we're worried about here. We're gonna hide it. Now, the ring, we're going to give it a level of subdivision. Turn off Dynamesh, and we're going to give it one level of polygon, one level of polishing, because the polygons are visible on the shaft. I don't like that. One more. One more. Okay. So now we're going to make it 20k points, because it doesn't really need a lot. It's just a ring. Okay. Yeah. And now we go to the seat. Or rather, the entire bucket. This is going to need a subdivision. And we're going to make this 75k too, because of all the detail from the rocks and the rust. 75k. Reordering, writing file to disk. Yeah, 150 triangles. Alright, now we're going to make everything visible again. And we are now going to export the pieces. So, export. Trebuchet articulated frame. Export. Trebuchet articulated arm. Export. Trebuchet articulated arm ring. And then finally export trebuchet articulated bucket. Okay. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to pop over to 3D Studio Max. Yes. Now we're going to import printing home meshes or cord war machines trebuchet final treb. Make this view by list because we can see the names easier. Okay, we need the arm ring. File, import arm. File, import bucket. File, import frame. And then file, import shaft, import. Going over here and hiding unselected, and file, import shaft caps. Now what we're going to do here, we're first going to cap holes just to make sure we don't have any holes. Okay, then we're going to select this one and detach. Okay. We're going to center our pivot to the object and do the same thing to this one. And our shaft, yeah, okay. We're turning on angle snap for rotation, and we're going to rotate these in and out. Then we're just going to kind of spin them a little bit by random direction and amount, just to add some asymmetry to it. I'm going to select them both. Okay. This is x of 0.002. That's not, we're not going to negative 2.245. Negative 2.245. And then z needs to be 94.492. 94.492. And then this one, 94.492. Then we're going to zoom in and move these so that they're just barely inserted over the cap. Okay, and then this one. I was going to say it. There. Unhide all. Alright. This. We're going to go to our ring. We're going to select the vertexes that make the ring. And we're going to push them until they overlap with the ring itself, with the arm. The reason being is this way it'll fuse when we bring it back into ZBrush. We are also going to take the arm, we're going to attach it there. Then we're going to take the shaft and attach the caps and the shaft. Let's select no. Why did it move? Actually, let's just select attach here. Now we're going to select the shaft and we're going to make it a little bit bigger. so that it'll fuse when it comes time. Okay. Now, we're going to move this one's pivot point about there. And then bring it up. That's close to the center of the shaft. There we go. Alright, now we're going to use this to parent it, or link it rather, to the arm. And now it's time to pose this sucker. Oh shit. I had it on a just pivot. We don't want that. We're going to pose it for there. And then we're going to pose this one and then move it a little. Let me frame it, and let me change the angle so I can see. And then we're going to move it so that it's resting on the ring. And here we have our ready to launch Trenchbucket. And like I said, we're going to make a little stump that'll fit underneath the bucket to represent how the orcs fire it. We're going to go ahead and Control A for selecting all. Export selected. Wavefront OBJ. Meshes, orc horde, Ralph. Yes, you. I see you there, little buddy. What are you doing? What are you doing? Do you mind? I am not a pirate, and you are not a parrot. You understand? Ah, yeah. Probably the most awkward spot you could have gotten there, Fuzzbucket. There we go. Let go. Let go. Go on, Fuzzbutt. Go, chew. Hey! Now that's War Machines, Trebuchet, Final Treb, Trebuchet, posed, loaded. Export. Done. And then we're going to just Control Z until we get... Yeah. Now. Okay. We're going to rotate it back a little. And then rotate it forward a little. And we're going to bring this over to here, fuse it in a little bit. Z. And that's trebuchet firing. File. Export selected. Trebuchet. Posed firing. And you can fit the orc on all 3 versions. Okay, we're going to delete it. Going back to ZBrush. And now what we're going to do is we're going to delete those. We're going to import trebuchet posed firing. Always yes. It's currently 650,000 triangles. Close subtool, open geometry. We're going to divide it once, delete lower. Dynamesh it at 1600 resolution. 1.95 million polygons. And now we're at 3.44 million. Looking at it, we see that one head is upside down, the other is kind of sideways. Okay. So now we're going to go ahead. We're going to decimate it to 250,000 triangles, which is 500,000 or 250,000 points, 500,000 triangles. The reason for this is we want it to be close to the level of detail of the articulated version, but it doesn't need quite as many triangles because there are several areas on this version that are fused and hidden and will never be printed, such as the pegs on the ring at the bottom of the arm. So now, that's 500,000 triangles. Wow, it looks almost identical to when I first loaded it in. But now it's a single solid mesh. So, export, trebuchet pose firing. Yes. Now import, trebuchet pose loaded. Now, once we're done, we're going to be making a super low version that we're going to be taking into Rhino to make the stump. However, that might be after the orc himself, because the orc needs at least an hour to sculpt him. So, we're going to subdivide, delete lower, Dynamesh 1600. In all honesty, it might actually be easier if you don't have the CR10. You'd have to. I'd recommend if you load in either one of these posed versions, load it in oriented. Okay, this is taking a while. I'm going to go ahead and wait for the program to respond. Oh, yay. This is not a big deal. I haven't actually lost any work. It's just adjusting the loaded trebuchet. Alright, basically what I had to do was I had to go in and get another 12-pack of soda and open it up. So now the next thing that we're going to be doing is we're going to be finishing off the posed trebuchet and then start to work on the orc. Okay? So let's go ahead and go back to ZBrush, which is, hey look, it's loaded again. Import meshes, orc horde, war machines, trebuchet, final treb, posed loaded. And here we have our loaded trebuchet. This is what it'll look like on the battlefield and all that nonsense, yeah. So we go to we frame it, and we go to geometry, we subdivide it once, delete lower. We're going to dynamesh it to 1024, because we were causing problems when we did it the other way. Put this in the trash. And we have 1.574 triangles. Million. Still too many. So we go over here. Z plugin. Decimation master. 250K. Bing. And that will bring it to 500,000 triangles, which is where we want it. And there we go. And export. Save. Yes, I want to save it. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make a 20K version. The reason for this, we need this to make our log that's going to be underneath the super low treb. No fuzz butt, shoot. And actually we're going to be importing this into 3D Studio Max because of how we're going to make the log. Okay. Now we're going to zoom in a little bit here. And we're going to zoom in a little bit here. I'm going to stop my hiccups and I'm going to zoom in right under here. Now, we make a cylinder. And it's going to be about that big. We're going to move it so that it's on top of that. And then we're going to increase the height. So it's just under. That's a little bit too high. We need to give it some clearance so that we can, people can do it. Now we need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 segments. Okay, and then we need to make the sides 10. And the cap segments 2. And then we're going to hide unselected. All we needed it for was estimating the height. Now what we're going to do, we're going to collapse it to editable poly. We're going to select both here and here. Oops. And here. And then we're going to and bring it up a bit. We're also going to make this one just a little bit larger. Now, we're going to go ahead and select a random section over here. Just to basically, that is going to be our top piece that'll be sticking out, kind of like a log that, or not a log, but a branch got chopped off there. And then shrink it. Actually, we're going to go ahead and select here and go up, because we're going to make this one a good bit bigger. And we're going to select here. Extrude. A little bit more. Okay. Then we're going to rotate 5 there. X of 0, because that'll help us flatten it. And then we're going to rotate back, select the 4 on the outside, and shrink it to help make it a bit rounder. And then we're going to select the 2 on the inside top, just these 2, make them a bit taller. Now, we're going to shrink it overall and bring it up. Now, we're going to select these, and we're going to connect very close to the edge here. I'm going to select here, connect very close to the edge, select here, connect very close to the edge, select here, connect very close to the edge, and then we're going to mesh smooth it once. And it's already got a really nice log look to it, the way those branches are poking off of it. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to make it a little bit wider, and then we're going to taper it. Make it a bit more natural looking. Collapse all. Then we're going to mesh smooth it again. I hate it when it changes. Statistics. Next view. Okay, 2000. 8,000. That'll do it. Collapse all. That's our log. We're going to go and detail it in ZBrush after we detail the org. But you can see it looks like a log. That's had its branches chopped. File. Export selected. Web log. Export. Done. Delete and go back to ZBrush. We are now going to import. Actually, have I already done a tool for the orc spotter? No, I haven't. So import spotter bod. And then we're going to append spider pickups, append, import spider spyglass, append, import spider tunic, and append, import spider tusks. Now, as neat as this looks, we got to do one other thing. We got to go to Document, New Document. Does anyone know why I made a new document, even though I just had loaded in all of the pieces? Anyone? It's because all of the brush scales, the percentage amounts, push amounts, all of that had been set by the size of the previously loaded tool, which was the trebuchet. By starting a new document, no, Carlton, I'm drawing down. By starting a new document, it keeps that tool we've just assembled from the orc in memory. Or not. Yeah, no, that didn't work. Oh no. Well, that tells me I've got to reset. I got to redo ZBrush again. Yep. So I'm going to close ZBrush. No, I don't want to save the project before closing. And restart it. Basically, I was trying to see if I could get it to reset the default scale for the document, which at that point in time had been made humongoid because of the size of the trebuchet. So we are going to go ahead and reload ZBrush. Import. I'm going to import the start and then switch back over once I got them in place. Okay. Now let's pop it back over to here. And what we have is we got the spider bod loaded. While I'm thinking about it, before I loaded anything else, I'm going to shrink the mouse a bit and smooth out the inner mouth so that it won't be as bad. Yeah. And then we're going to subtool, and we're going to start the whole subtool append import bit. Import boot cups. Append. We're going to make this one the tunic. Append. Import spyglass. And append. Import tusks. Now, one of the things we're going to do before we actually do much else, we're going to use the Move Topological tool. Make it a little bit bigger. And just start moving the finger. It's going to be kind of a messy move. Whoop. Then we're going to smooth this out. And then we are going to go to inflate and shrink the mouse a bit, and just kind of just start slowly working on making the finger. My goodness. And now we're going to move topological and make it really big. Because we kind of screwed up with the level of detail. So we're going to smooth that back out, go back to inflate, and inflate it. And now we're going to shrink this a little bit, smooth out just a little bit on the sides here. And then move topological, we're going to bring this in just a little bit. Okay, frame out. And there he is, yeah. He's ready for our Dynamesh. Actually, let's go ahead and bring that up. The tunic, we need to go ahead and turn on transparency mapping. And we're gonna grab in the center and kind of move out because we want this to be slightly in the surface. Okay. Now, that's good enough for that. We're gonna pull the make it bigger and pull this back a bit like that. Okay. Now we're gonna pull that down like that so it's not quite showing off the orky goods. Then I'm gonna bring this out a bit like that. And there we go. Now we're going to subdivide it a few times. And then subdivide him a few times. And then we're going to merge down. Geometry, Dynamesh, 768. Well, what do you know? Got to change batteries too. But yeah. Now what we're going to do is we're going to shrink this. We're going to smooth out only where it's poking through. We're going to end up adding a rope belt onto him just above the top of the tunic skirt. Okay. Excuse me. So we're going to start with the rope brush. I'm going to start in front. Come around that way. A little big. Let's reduce the draw size to 25. Much better. And then drawing back around here. Okay, that's the presence of our rope belt. We're now going to split unmasked parts and click again to make it to get rid of the curve. Then we're going to draw in one and then another from here. We're going to merge our ropes. We're going to change this brush to the knot. Make sure that we have it set on depth to 0. Hide the belt, and it's right here, so we're going to draw on that. And that's about perfect. It's about exact. Now split unmasked parts and merge down. Now geometry, we're going to divide it a couple times, lower. And we have ourselves his belt and kilt. And he's got boots. There's not a lot we really need to add to him, considering this could be either a civilized orc or a tribal orc. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to him. And we're going to zoom in on his mouth. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in a couple of upper teeth after I smooth this out. We are going to go ahead and give it a subdivide. We're going to shrink that and control and then focal shift to -100. Now we're going to draw on there. Then we're going to masking and invert the masking. And go to snake hook. Actually, yeah, we need to blur mask. And we're going to use our tablet, and we're going to give a little bit of definition to the tops of those teeth. We're not worried about the bottoms or the sides, just the tops. We're going to do that with the slash tool. And we got to, once again, go to stroke, lazy mouse, and turn off lazy mouse. Reduce this to about 14, and shrink it just a little. Yep. Now let's go ahead and add on our usual detailing. And let's go a little bit under here. And then 1, 2, 3. And then we go to inflate. Make it a bit bigger. There. Now pretty much all we really have to do is give him some bracers. There's not a lot more that is needed for him. If someone wants to, they can print out some pauldrons to add to him. And there we go. Frame out. Yeah, there we go. I'm going to give him only one bracer, and it's going to be right here on the pointing arm. Now we go to Subtool and Extract. And now we go to Scene 25. We're going to make it a nice large draw size and a little bit high intensity, or higher. We're going to draw that on. And tusks, we're going to subdivide them. Now we're going to merge down. And what we have is our spotter to fit on the seat of the bench. He can work for either tribal or regular orcs. I know some people will say that there's no way that tribal orcs would have a trebuchet. I say, why not? Because technically they could get it from almost anyone. You just simply say, they stole the trebuchet. They saw it used. The shaman of the group and a dozen or so warriors picked it up and trotted off with it after the battle was over before it had a chance to be dismantled by the winning side. And here we go. Now we're going to export this simply as under Final Treb as Trebuchet Spotter. It is 9:37. I have enough time to go ahead and do the log. Where is it? Treb log. Okay. Now we're going to subdivide it a few times until it's around a couple million. There we go, a couple million, lower. We're now going to dynamesh it at 1024. Drops us down to 1.3. That's good enough. Now what we're going to do is we're going to get the rake tool. And we're going to do something similar that we did for the log on the... Actually, I got a better idea. Let's go ahead. We're going to shrink this tool a lot. And we're going to use it to mask off the ends. Especially whatever is not going to be bark. Whoop. And add on here. And fill it in. It's better if it's not a perfect circle, actually, by the way. An imperfect circle looks more organic and natural. We want to try and keep it roughly on par with the bottom and top and other aspects, but and close that off. Now the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to inflate it 1. Just enough to give a little bit of a border around. Actually, let's give it another. Yeah, that'll do. Frame. Now, we go to polygroups, and we're going to group masked. There we go. Now, actually, let's go ahead and subtool split unmasked parts. There we go. And now we go to surface, going to noise. We are going to open. Oh, wait a minute. Cancel. Let's turn on Lightbox and take a look at the noisemaker, see if there's one that would work for rough, chaotic bark. Noise 20 looks like it might do well. Okay. So noise, open. Pixel Logic, ZBrush 2019, Noisemakers 20. No, that's not 20. 21. 19. No. Actually, yeah, 19 does kind of fit. Let's see what happens when we change the scale. Okay, then we're going to mask by noise. We're then going to masking, and we're going to blur it once, twice, 3 times. We're going to inverse deformation, and we're going to inflate it slightly. Okay. Now we're going back to surface, edit. We're going to change that scale again. Mixed basic noise will increase. Okay. Mask by noise. Masking. Inverse. Blur. 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 Deformation. We're going to deflate it a little bit. And then we draw, and we have our bark. Okay. Now, we're going to merge down. And then under geometry, we're going to Dynamesh it. This will fuse it and close all holes. We zoom in, and we see we've got our flattened bits there and there. We're going to give it a single polish of 5. Yeah. Then we're going to go ahead, go to standard Z sub. Let's turn off that lazy mouse, add an alpha from the storage 03109, printing, meshes, pre-sculpt, alphas, horizontal wood rings, open. And alpha inverse and drag rectangle. The reason for that is now we can zoom in, select, and draw that like that. And basically we're going to do the same thing here. Frame. We're going to do the same thing here. And then another one level of polish, just to smooth that a bit. Frame out. And then Dynamesh once again. And we have a good bit of detail painting there. Okay, now open. We're going to decimate to 35K. Okay, and there we have it, 75,000 triangles for a log. Export back to Orc Horde, War Machines, Trebuchet, Final Treb. Trebuchet load in log. And that's it. That is our trebuchet. Articulated, 2 poses, the orc spotter, and the log to launch it, as well as an elf ammunition. We haven't done the spherical ammunition yet, but that's 10 minutes work to do a round rock. There's other crewmen that we need to make, such as one orc carrying a rock, an orc with a sledgehammer to knock the log out from under, and then, you know, maybe another orc that's just standing around going, But that's our orc trebuchet. Now, yeah, crazy. So Crazy Fuzz, what you doing, huh? What did you hear? What did you hear, baby boy? Oh, you're hearing Mom. Yeah, let me go ahead and put you down. No. Go on, Velcro Kitty. So it is 9:50. Yay! I have to confess, there's something I've gotten addicted to recently. These are little hard candies called Napoleons. They're like your typical old-fashioned sour balls that Brock's used to have, and some of you never had before. They're a type of sour candy like a lemon drop, and they are in fact drops. You know, they're made in a round mold and broken apart as drops. But because of the way they're made, instead of being just uh, candy, they have layers to the sugar. So there's all, oh, it's so good. Anyway, so as I said, it is 9:51. This is my baby girl. She's been up here the whole night. Yay. Thursday, I'm probably going to make something to put up on Thingiverse just because, I've been kind of neglecting Thingiverse. Um, Sunday, I may or may not have a sculpt to make, but the Flaming Tiefling Paladin, who I'm still working on as you can see, will be up in the patron file vault. So it'll be a new addition to the file vault finally after a while. Got a couple other people that are probably going to be joining and doing patron sculpts over the next few weeks. So they come out well. And I'm going to go ahead and call it a night. As usual, I'm going to have my hand up here. I'm going to count from 5 to 1. When I get to 1, I'm going to go ahead and be like, okay, say something stupid and stuff. And then just go, and that'll be it. When I see my finger go, I'm going to be stopping the broadcast. For those who don't understand, that's because there is a built-in lag, and I may have developed more lag just from being, working while I'm doing this, broadcasting. So, it's going to be 5. No. Bad. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Something stupid. Yeah, I don't have anything prepared.